Nobody expected this to happen. In a sport dominated by billion-dollar clubs, legendary managers, and world-famous superstars, one small team quietly began writing a story that would leave the entire football world speechless. Experts laughed at them before the season even started. Bookmakers gave them almost no chance of success. Every prediction suggested they would struggle just to survive. But what happened next became one of the greatest miracles football has ever witnessed. Years later, fans still ask the same question. How did a team that nobody believed in rise above the giants and achieve the impossible? This is the untold story of football's greatest underdog. Welcome back to GameBlueprint. Today, we're diving into one of the most inspiring stories in football history. It's a story filled with doubt, determination, heartbreak, and unforgettable triumph. It reminds us why millions of people around the world fall in love with football every single week. Because sometimes, against all logic and every prediction, dreams really do come true. This isn't just about winning matches. It's about believing when nobody else does, standing together when the odds are impossible, and proving that passion can overcome money, reputation, and history. To understand this incredible journey, we have to go back to where it all began. Long before they became champions, they were simply a club trying to survive. Financially, they could never compete with Europe's elite. Their stadium wasn't among the biggest. Their squad wasn't filled with global superstars. In fact, many of their players had been rejected by bigger clubs. Some had spent years in lower divisions. Others were considered too old, too slow, or simply not good enough. Every transfer window, rival clubs spent hundreds of millions while they searched for bargains and overlooked talent. On paper, success seemed impossible. But that was only the beginning. Behind the scenes, something special was quietly taking shape. Instead of chasing expensive names, the club focused on building a united group. Every player understood their role. Every training session emphasized teamwork over individual brilliance. The coaching staff believed that discipline, hard work, and tactical intelligence could close the gap between them and the richest teams. It wasn't glamorous, but it was effective. Slowly, confidence began to grow inside the dressing room. When the new season kicked off, expectations remained incredibly low. Most football experts predicted they would finish near the bottom of the table. Television pundits barely mentioned them during title discussions. Fans from bigger clubs viewed them as an easy 3 points. Even their own supporters hoped only for safety rather than success. Nobody could have imagined what was about to unfold. Their opening matches offered small signs of promise. They defended with incredible organization and attacked with fearless determination. Every player worked tirelessly from the first whistle until the last. Instead of relying on one superstar, goals came from different parts of the team. Their goalkeeper made impossible saves. Their defenders threw themselves into every challenge. Their midfield controlled the tempo with intelligence rather than flashy skills. Up front, their attackers punished every mistake. What happened next changed everything. The victories kept coming. Week after week, they defeated clubs with far greater resources. Journalists initially called it a lucky run. Critics insisted reality would eventually catch up with them. But as the months passed, luck became harder to argue. Their performances were consistent. Their tactics were disciplined. Most importantly, they never lost belief. One of the biggest reasons behind their success was the manager's vision. He understood that his team couldn't dominate possession against the biggest clubs. Instead, they mastered the art of quick transitions. They defended compactly, waited patiently, and exploded forward with remarkable speed whenever opportunities appeared. Opponents struggled to break them down, while every counterattack carried genuine danger. It wasn't always beautiful football, but it was incredibly efficient. Statistics began attracting worldwide attention. Their defensive record ranked among the best in the league. They converted a remarkably high percentage of their chances. They covered more distance than almost every opponent. Every sprint, every tackle, and every interception reflected their incredible work ethic. Numbers supported what fans were witnessing with their own eyes. This wasn't a fluke. This was a team performing at an elite level. However, the story didn't end there. Success brought new pressure. Suddenly, every match became a test of character. Instead of surprising opponents, they became the team everyone wanted to beat. Stadiums filled with fans hoping to witness the underdogs finally collapse. Every mistake was heavily analyzed. Every injury raised new questions. Could they really keep this unbelievable run alive? Things were about to get even worse. Key players began suffering injuries at the worst possible time. Squad depth became a serious concern. Unlike the biggest clubs, they couldn't simply replace stars with equally expensive backups. Every absence mattered. Fatigue also became an issue as the demanding schedule continued. Critics confidently predicted this would be the moment their dream finally ended. Yet something remarkable happened. Instead of falling apart, different players stepped forward. Lesser-known squad members seized their opportunity. Young talents showed maturity beyond their years. Veterans used their experience to calm the team during difficult moments. The collective spirit became stronger than ever. Nobody cared who scored the goals or received the headlines. Everyone fought for the badge. Perhaps the greatest symbol of their journey was how many players had once been overlooked. Some had been released from famous academies. Others spent years playing in lower leagues where very few people even knew their names. Many experts had already written them off before they reached their peak. Football often rewards early success, but this team proved that determination can be just as powerful as natural talent. Nobody saw this coming. As the season entered its final months, the impossible suddenly looked realistic. They weren't just competing anymore. They were leading the league. Every victory increased belief among supporters while creating panic among traditional giants. Rival clubs that once ignored them now desperately chased every point. The title race had transformed into something nobody predicted. The atmosphere around every match became unforgettable. Fans traveled across the country dreaming of history. Stadiums echoed with chants filled with hope rather than expectation. Families who had supported the club through decades of disappointment suddenly realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Football is often measured by trophies, but moments like these remind us that emotion is its greatest prize. The real surprise came later. Instead of becoming nervous under pressure, the team actually improved. Their decision-making became sharper. Their defensive organization reached another level. Every player understood exactly what was at stake, yet nobody allowed fear to take control. That mental strength separated them from many more talented squads. Tactically, they remained true to their identity. They refused to abandon the system that brought them success. While opponents constantly adjusted strategies to stop them, they trusted their principles. Their pressing remained coordinated. Their defensive shape stayed compact. Their counterattacks continued punishing even the smallest defensive errors. Football history is filled with teams that lose confidence when pressure increases. This team did the exact opposite. As the final weeks approached, the entire football world watched in disbelief. Newspapers across Europe placed them on front pages. Television stations covered every training session. Former players admitted they had never seen anything quite like it. Bookmakers who once gave them impossible odds now faced one of the greatest shocks in sports betting history. The impossible dream had become reality. Then came the defining moment. The final whistle confirmed what millions never believed could happen. Against every prediction, against every financial disadvantage, against every criticism, the underdogs had become champions. Players collapsed onto the pitch in tears. Coaches embraced each other. Fans celebrated in ways they had only imagined for generations. It wasn't just another league title. It was one of the greatest sporting achievements ever witnessed. But their impact extended far beyond one unforgettable season. Young footballers everywhere suddenly believed their dreams mattered again. Smaller clubs realized they didn't always need enormous budgets to compete. Managers studied their tactical approach. Scouts looked more closely at overlooked players. Their story changed how many people viewed football itself. Of course, maintaining that incredible success proved difficult. Football moves quickly. Bigger clubs targeted their best players. Expectations rose dramatically. Opponents adapted. Results eventually became harder to achieve. Yet none of that erased what they had accomplished. Some stories aren't defined by how long they last but by how deeply they inspire. Years later, supporters still remember every goal, every save, and every emotional celebration from that magical campaign. Children who watched that season grew up believing that anything is possible in football. Even fans of rival clubs often admit they secretly admired what this extraordinary team achieved. In a sport increasingly dominated by money and global superstars, they reminded everyone that heart, belief, and unity still matter. Perhaps that's why this underdog story continues to resonate around the world. It wasn't simply about lifting a trophy. It was about ordinary people accomplishing something extraordinary together. It proved that statistics don't always determine destiny, budgets don't always guarantee success, and reputation alone never wins football matches. Every training session, every sacrifice, and every ounce of belief contributed to a miracle that nobody will ever forget. Football constantly produces incredible moments, but very few redefine what people think is possible. This journey did exactly that. It challenged assumptions, inspired future generations, and became a timeless reminder that hope should never disappear, even when the odds seem impossible. Whenever fans say that miracles no longer exist in modern football, this remarkable story stands as the perfect response. In the end, the greatest underdog in football didn't just win a championship. They won the hearts of millions across the world. Their legacy isn't measured only by medals or statistics but by the inspiration they continue to give to players, coaches, and supporters who dare to dream beyond their limitations. Long after the final whistle faded, their story continued proving that football remains the beautiful game because every once in a while, the impossible becomes reality. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more football stories from GameBlueprint. Until next time, keep believing, because in football, the next unbelievable story might be just one match away.